Broadcasting Corporation held a poll to mark the new millennium by identifying the greatest British figure of the passing one, Cromwell came in third, after Shakespeare and Churchill, but ahead of any monarch. He has joined that select band of historical personalities who have become legendary, in the sense that they are best known for words they never actually spoke or actions they never took. Just as there is no evidence that King Alfred ever burned any cakes, Sir Francis Drake played bowls on Plymouth Hoe, Sir Walter Raleigh dropped his cloak over a puddle, or Marie Antoinette suggested that the French should eat cake, so there is none that Cromwell ever told his men to trust in God and keep your powder dry. The phrase was popularized by the immensely influential Victorian scholar Samuel Rawson Gardiner, to sum up his character as Gardiner saw it. Oliver Cromwell is, therefore, a big, alluring subject, one of the clearest examples of the way in which an individual personality can credibly sway history and so justify historical biography as a meaningful subdiscipline. This is not in itself, however, the most compelling apparent reason for the persistence of new lives of the man. There is, I would suggest, an uneasy feeling among experts in his period that Cromwell is still somehow eluding them, and that nobody has as yet quite managed to get to grips with him. Back in 1937, the compiler of the fullest edition of documents yet associated with him moaned that what we have gained in truth we have, in a sense, lost in certainty when dealing with Cromwell. Since then, this unease has increased. One of his recent biographers has commented that despite the huge number of preceding lives, many of the historical problems concerning him have never been satisfactorily answered. Another added that there is general agreement first that Cromwell is one of the great figures of British history, and yet also, second, that the nature of that greatness is shrouded in paradox. Some of that paradox lies in the chasm between his own representations of himself, in private as well as public, and the views taken of him by the majority of his contemporaries, including many who knew him well and found him to be ruthless, devious, and self-promoting, for many of them to the point of hypocrisy. More can be found in the manner in which he either abandoned or turned savagely against institutions, ideas, and people whom he had previously professed solemnly to uphold and admire. There is no doubt that he was both godly and wily, and the two seem at times to jar with each other. There is equally little doubt that he spoke, alternately, a language of healing, conservation, and preservation, and one of charismatic and apocalyptic reform, and could be deliberately vague in defining concrete goals in either case. He was at once an outstanding success in achieving and maintaining power, and a dismal failure in obtaining the ultimate aims which he set himself in taking it. Nonetheless, his recent biographers, while acknowledging these problems, have all resolved them in much the same way, which is why their portraits of the man are so similar. They have ended up by discounting the criticisms and condemnations of Cromwell made by contemporaries and taking him essentially at his own evaluation. This is largely because ultimately they have taken him literally at his own word, because so many of his words have been preserved. The quantity and quality of them surpass those of any other ruler of England before Victoria, and they have been offered up in ever more capacious editions since the early 19th century. As a result, while the quality can beguile biographers, as it apparently provides direct access to the true workings of his mind, so the quantity can overpower them. It is too easy to use the letters and speeches as the scaffolding on which the rest of the book can be hung, and Cromwell's self-representation as the objective test of validity against which other historical records may be measured. Over the past 3 decades, there has been a growing sense of this problem among experts. In 1990, the editor of a distinguished collection of new studies of Cromwell could introduce them by declaring that the essays in this volume have quite properly allowed him to speak for himself. They have not been insouciant or uncritical, but they have projected a picture of a man very close to the image he projected of himself. By contrast, the editor of another important